The northern archipelago of Spitsbergen is a harsh, icy, and windy land where winter is almost all year round. In 2008, a group of researchers came here to investigate the strange death of seals. They suspected local predators, but demanded evidence, and it was decided to start monitoring. Data collection, analysis, ordinary field work, all this was. But even the most experienced scientists did not imagine that these studies would lead them to a real sensation, the discovery of the most mysterious shark in the Arctic. No more at the top. I hate to remind you to do something under the video. So, what happened? Scientists, however, themselves did not expect that an ordinary study would turn into a sensation, but in the stomach of the Greenland shark, they found the jawbone of a young white bear. This find put them in a dead end. After all, it was believed that the owner of the Arctic ice remains a bear, and the only threat to him can only be predators. But it seems that the sea predator has an unexpected competitor. It all started with the fact that an expert on seals from the Norwegian Polar Institute in Troms, Kit Kovacs, tried to figure out the mass extinction of ordinary seals in Spitsbergen. The Greenland shark, one of the two species of polar sharks, was immediately suspected. To test the guess, scientists opened one of them and began to study the contents of the stomach. And there, among other things, there was a bone of a white bear about 10 centimeters long. Scientists were so stunned by the find that they even laughed at first. No one has ever seen anything like it. How the bone turned out to be inside the shark remained a mystery, and the answer to this question seemed no less surprising than the find itself. To understand what is so special about this find, you need to mentally go to the edge of the world, where the ice waters of the Arctic Ocean and the North Atlantic hide a creature that few people have seen with their own eyes. Go down to a depth of more than 2.5 kilometers, and there it will be waiting for you. The Greenland polar shark. Its scientific name sounds almost ridiculous, Somniosus microcephalus, which can be translated as sleepy small-headed. And indeed, it is one of the slowest sharks in the world. It is rarely found on the surface. It prefers to swim in a hurry at a depth where the temperature fluctuates only from -2 to +7 degrees Celsius. The shark looks as if created by this cold depth. The body is cylindrical, painted in dark gray, brown, or almost black. Also, the eyes are very, very small. From afar, it resembles an underwater boat, and the size of this submarine is impressive, up to 7 meters in length and 1.5 tons of weight. For comparison, a large white shark grows up to 6 meters, but is usually heavier, exceeding 2.5 tons. The largest Greenland sharks are longer than the Toyota Prius and weigh a ton. In general, it is a slow and very large predator. And now look at the eyes. You might think that the shark is looking for prey with them, but no, it would be a mistake to say so. In fact, a parasite, a tiny cancerous Omatocoida elongata, it sucks up to the eye, damages it, and leaves tubes. Because of it, the vision of these sharks is often spoiled, and they look at the world through a muddy curtain. If you look at it from the side, the picture will turn out to be almost pathetic. A huge carcass drags through icy waters at a speed of less than 3 kilometers per hour. The vision is spoiled, the movements are sluggish, you want to breathe right away. Well, she got it for life, as if it were not even a shark, but the main loser of the northern seas. But this is an illusion. The Greenland shark, with all its slowness and almost complete blindness, remains one of the main predators of the Arctic. Yes, it belongs to the family of sleeping sharks and seems to be in no hurry, but this is where its strength lies. Greenland sharks are numerous and fertile, which makes them one of the most successful large predators in the world. While the populations of other species are rapidly decreasing, the Greenland shark feels quite confident and continues to flourish. In short, we have a real master of the Arctic depths here, and the advantages of the Greenland shark are much greater than the disadvantages. Let's start with the fact that even almost blind, it is perfectly oriented in the dark depths. Vision is not the main thing here at all. In a world where light does not break through the ice and the thickness of water, the shark relies on other senses. And it works perfectly. Parasites in the eyes do not prevent it from living and hunting at all. The body of the Greenland shark is created for secrecy. It is covered with special scales, dermal teeth. These tiny protrusions resemble teeth, and it is they that help to move silently. Moreover, the rough surface reduces turbulence more than if the skin were smooth. It turns out that all this huge carcass moves in the water almost like a ninja, quietly and imperceptibly. This should be added to the magnificent smell. With the help of the shark, it can track prey or find prey even in the darkest waters. And it also has a special feature: large dachshunds behind the eyes. These are such rudimentary cracks that allow you to get oxygen from the water without wasting extra energy. Most sharks, if they stop swimming, suffocate. But the Greenland shark can afford to move slowly and save energy. So instead of a pitiful and irreversible fish, in front of us is a creature that is perfectly suitable for the harsh conditions of the Arctic. And the menu of this creature is appropriate. Previously, in the stomachs of these predators were found parts of the caribou, swallowed with droppings or attacked right in the water. There is even a myth that the shark is able to jump out of the water and grab the caribou standing on the ice, although scientists treat this story with a share of skepticism. Because why would she jump? The shark is quite effective and without acrobatic tricks. It can sneak up on live prey, but at the same time it eats numerous corpses with pleasure. Other sharks, seals, drowned horses. Sometimes on the surface of the sea you can see several Greenland sharks together with the remains of whales or fish that died due to commercial whale hunting and fishing. At the same time, meeting people is a rarity for them, so scientists still do not know as much about Greenland sharks as they would like. It is known for sure that they have a special hunting tool: the mouth. The Greenland shark has 48 to 52 teeth in the upper jaw and 50 to 52 in the lower one. The upper teeth are sharp and hold large prey, and the lower ones are wide and bent to the sides. Holding the upper teeth for the prey, the shark rotates its head in circular motions, cutting off even pieces of meat with the lower teeth. The smaller prey is simply swallowed whole. But wait, what about the white bear? Everything is somehow ambiguous with him. In 2008, as I said, scientists found the jaw of a young white bear in the stomach of a Greenland shark. A little later, in 2014, a little muscle tissue and pieces of skin. This made many people wonder whether the white bear is in danger because of these slow sea giants. If you imagine a sea battle between the largest land predator in the world and a Greenland shark, the picture will be impressive. A real battle of the titans, a little more, and the Pacific coastline. Such shots will probably make all film directors about the wild and immediately rush to the North Pole. But seriously, polar ice is melting, so scientists assume that bears will spend more and more time in the water, hunting, or moving between icebergs. And this makes them a potential prey for large sea predators. In addition, warmer waters can attract larger sharks to the north, increasing the risk. In general, white bears are really dangerous opponents. In the Hulk, an adult bear reaches from 1 to 1.5 meters and standing on its hind legs more than 3 meters. They are able to swim for almost 10 days in a row, overcoming up to 687 kilometers without stopping and keeping a speed of up to 9.5 kilometers per hour, rowing with their front legs and using their hind legs as a steering wheel. In addition, white bears have an incredibly powerful bite, up to 81 atmospheres. This is a lot. Large fangs can reach 5 centimeters. And altogether, this makes bears just killing machines. The Greenland shark in this comparison looks slow and slow. The speed is less than 3 kilometers per hour in normal swimming, although in rare jerks, it is able to accelerate. There is little information about the shark's bite, but it is known that it is large and strong enough to easily injure or kill a person. So the conclusion is asked. The Greenland shark is unlikely to cope with an adult white bear. There are no chances on land at all. But sick, helpless, sleepy bears after a long swim or cubs are a potentially vulnerable prey. And it is such situations that most likely explain the finding of the remains of a white bear in the stomachs of sharks. Or were these white bears already dead at the time of the meeting? As for the finding of the jaw in 2008, researchers have not yet come to a final conclusion, but most shark experts believe that the white bear was most likely already dead at the time of the shark's lunch. After all, even a young 2- or 3-year-old bear would be a formidable opponent for a Greenland shark. In any case, he somehow ended up in the water and was dead, but I think bears still prefer to die on land. This is my personal opinion. The case from 2014 confirms this idea. The bear was probably just a scoundrel, and yet you can't be 100% sure because Greenland sharks are still very poorly studied. And given that in the future bears will spend more time in the water, who knows, maybe we'll still see truly epic clashes of two predators. Moreover, supporters of the theory of shark attacks on live white bears have their own arguments. Yes, Greenland sharks can go down to a depth of up to 2,200 meters, but the fat found in the seal's stomach shows that real hunting is most often done on shallow water. And there these slow giants turn out to be much more skilled hunters than was previously considered. The results of Dr. Kovacs and her group's research indicate that polar sharks are capable of catching live seals, fast and agile animals, which, it would seem, could easily slip away. This is especially visible in the condition of the remains. They are often fresh and do not contain traces of predatory invertebrates, such as opuri and bacoplava. These invertebrates usually appear if the corpse has been lying in the water for some time. So scientists suspected that sharks could attack live seals. Yes, they have a rather sluggish pace of life, but after all, the prey can be caught in the open, in a dream. Arctic seals sleep in water, not on ice, to avoid polar bears. And sometimes they sleep hard enough for the shark to catch them. You might think that the seal is dead, but if you touch it, it will wake up and swim away immediately. It was not by chance that the shark was nicknamed the Killer Stopper. Between 1993 and 2001, almost 5,000 mutilated seals were found in New Scotland. The skins of the victims were plucked in a spiral, like a peeled orange. But another point of view also seems to be argued. Geoffrey Gallant, head of the Canadian group for the study of Greenland sharks, notes that the Greenland shark simply cannot afford the risk of injury or energy loss necessary for the murder of such a large and dangerous animal as a polar bear. There is a much lighter prey. That is, while sharks have enough food, in addition to polar bears, there is no point in attacking them. But what if there is no choice? Can a giant predator still try to make the bear happy? If the shark, of course, still has something left, because it is not the only contender here. In 2006, the second case of killing polar wolves was documented by a cub of a polar bear. It happened on the northwest coast of the island of Banks, Canada. Researchers found traces of an adult female with two small bears and tracked them for about a kilometer. Then the bear's tracks were joined by wolf tracks from the south. It looks like the wolves caught up with the bear, separated one cub, and killed it. The cub's carcass was found covered with snow, and traces were scattered around in different directions. The bear was partially eaten. Scientists have proposed several possible reasons for such an interspecies predatory behavior: elimination of competition for resources, prevention of a threat to the mother or offspring, and the obtaining of energy. Taking into account the ecology of wolves and polar bears, the most likely last hypothesis. In general, wolves hunt for everything and, as you know, can kill and eat other predators, including horses, cats, and dogs. Well, now there are also bears. But there are also walruses. In general, walruses are formidable creatures, real giants with a muscular body and long, sublevine beaks. In the usual situation, walruses prefer to run away when they see a bear. But if a walrus is cornered or protects a cub, it turns into a hellishly dangerous enemy. Any polar bear that miscalculates the moment of attack risks getting severe, and sometimes fatal, wounds. On the island of Wrangel, dead polar bears with wounds from walruses have been found more than once. Live bears were also often noticed with wounds of varying severity. Most of them understand well that attacking an adult walrus just like that, in the forehead, can be equal to suicide. Often it is enough for a threatening walrus to wave its beaks, and the bear will retreat. In the water, the situation is even more unequivocal. Here the walrus is almost unattainable for the bear. An aggressive walrus is able to protect itself and potentially drown the attacker, taking advantage of mass and maneuverability. White bears understand this and almost always avoid collisions in the water. In general, if you consider the fight in the water, a walrus becomes an extremely serious opponent. It is better not to associate with this. And if the bear still takes a risk, then its remains can be easily picked up by a Greenland shark. But in general, it can cope without walruses if the bear is tired enough. Moreover, sometimes white bears themselves create problems in the open sea. During the air records, at the beginning of September 2004, researchers immediately noticed four carcasses of white bears floating in the open water, presumably drowned. The case made it clear that swimming far from the ice, especially in the years with late or weak ice cover, can become deadly dangerous. As I said, white bears are considered to be strong swimmers and are able to overcome huge distances. One adult female with a radio collar in the Beaufort Sea swam 687 kilometers continuously for 9 days and then periodically moved along the sea ice for 1,800 kilometers. Nevertheless, extreme conditions can be too difficult, even for such champions. For example, white bears near the city of Kaktovik drowned during a storm because high waves were stronger than their ability to swim. And there are probably much more such cases than we know, because it is difficult to notice drowned animals even from a height, and some may be carried away by the current beyond the territory explored. In general, even the strongest swimmers of the Arctic do not always cope with the open sea. And there, again, Greenland sharks will not miss their prey. By the way, what if a Greenland shark meets a healthy and strong bear during a swim? He can attack her. Let's say if the person is young, it would seem that meat is meat, but there is no evidence that white bears eat these sharks. And it is just this selectivity that is difficult to explain. The Greenland shark survives in icy waters not only due to the skills of a ninja and sharp teeth, she made her body almost inedible. First of all, sharks do not urinate in their usual form at all. Their urine is absorbed into the flesh, and urine helps to keep water and prevents dehydration in a salty environment. For other marine fish, maintaining a balance of water and salt requires constant energy expenditure, and the Greenland shark's high concentration of urine solves this problem almost effortlessly. Urine destabilizes proteins. To avoid this, sharks store trimethylaminoxide in the body. It not only neutralizes the harm of urine, but also acts as an antifreeze, helping to survive in icy water. Well, the buoyancy also increases. And also trimethylaminoxide turns into trimethylamine when boiled. This poisonous compound causes serious intestinal disorders and gives an effect reminiscent of excessive alcohol consumption. Also, shark meat smells, well, like urine, frankly speaking. And although the smell would hardly confuse any of the predators, the toxicity of shark meat is a serious argument. The flesh of the Greenland polar shark is poisonous to such an extent that warm-blooded animals bypass this fish. The meat is considered extremely dangerous for breeding dogs, ravens, and some other species of birds. In general, even if at first glance the Greenland shark seems to be a slow and easy prey, in fact, it is better not to associate with it. Only the most desperate animals can try. For example, at the top of the food chain of the Greenland shark, there is only one potential opponent, the shark fin. There is evidence of the escape of our shark from echolocation clicks of the shark looking for food. After the death of the same shark, its teeth were erased to the state of clots. This made scientists understand that the Greenland shark can resist even giant marine mammals. And although scientists have not yet seen how sharks hunt these sharks, there is indirect evidence. And given that sharks hunt giant squid, despite their danger, there is nothing surprising about it. The Greenland shark is a predator that seems to be able to keep a distance and does not allow anyone to use themselves as food. Here, on the stage, people just have to appear. People, unlike everyone else, really decide to eat the Greenland shark. Although for this meat, it is necessary to first turn from deadly poisonous to edible. A raw shark can cause diarrhea, vomiting and stroke, as well as the effect known as shark intoxication. Therefore, the cooking process is strict and thorough. The meat is buried in gravel by the shore for 6 to 12 weeks. Then, under the weight of stones, the liquid is squeezed out and the meat is fermented. After digging out, the meat is dried in the open air for 4 to 5 months, then cut into small cubes. And voila! On the table, the Icelandic delicacy huakarl is an ancient national dish, by the way. Previously, when other products were a rarity, people ate the Greenland shark almost without choice. If the meat was not properly processed, they really got drunk like from heavy drugs. After such a lunch, I had to recover for several days. Now, of course, everything is easier, but the taste of shark meat is still specific. The reactions to the taste of huakarl are very different. Chef Anthony Bourdain called it the worst, the most disgusting and terrible thing that he ever ate. Gordon Ramsay, after tasting it, just spat out his piece. And I can't blame him. The Greenland shark is simply not intended to be eaten. It should just swim in cold waters for centuries, literally. Greenland sharks are real titans of time. Their sexual maturity comes only after 100 years of life. Yes, the childhood length of 100 years is even longer than that of hobbits. The age of bony fish can be easily determined by atollites, ear stones. But sharks consist almost entirely of cartilages. They do not have a hard, ring tissue. Scientists have found another way to look into the shark's eyes. The crustacean of these animals grows throughout its entire life, and the older the shark, the more layers are formed. You can't consider them like annual rings of trees, but you can remove all the layers formed from the moment of the embryonic nucleus and evaluate the age. As part of the 2016 study, the age of the oldest specimen was estimated at about 392 years, with an error of 120 years. This suggested that the shark can live up to 512 years. Theoretically, a specimen that saw the Great Plague in London in 1665 and the inauguration of George Washington in 1789 is the most long-lived vertebrate known to science. Another interesting point: these sharks continue to grow throughout their entire life. There is no medium-sized adult, like most animals, which stop growing over time. Greenland sharks have an endless growth until they have enough food. Naturally, such a longevity has its secrets, and in the case of Greenland sharks, it is directly related to the way they live. The sharks grow incredibly slowly, less than a centimeter per year, and have a metabolism of pine dust, according to George Burgess from the Museum of Natural History of Florida. The cold environment in which they live maintains a low body temperature, slowing down the metabolism and reducing tissue damage. At depth, under packed ice, the temperature of the shark's body drops to minus 1.8 degrees Celsius, below the freezing point of seawater. If these sharks lived in warmer water, their metabolism would accelerate, probably reducing the duration of life. But for now, the cold provides their longevity. In most animals with age, the metabolism slows down, which leads to problems with cell recovery and the accumulation of exchange products. Greenland sharks have no such thing. Their metabolism is immediately slow and remains slow throughout life. Probably, this is what allows them not to degrade over the years, remaining young much longer than most other animals. Even the organs of the shark work slowly. The rate of heart rate in a state of rest is only 8 to 10 beats per minute, one of the lowest indicators among the vertebrae. For comparison, a person's heart beats 60 to 100 times per minute, almost 10 times faster. Slow metabolism also means that sharks need extremely little food to maintain their vitality. An average shark weighing to 124 kilos is enough for only 61 to 193 grams of fish or marine mammals per day. It's like if a person weighing 75 kilos needed about 30 grams of food per day. A quarter of a banana, or a little less than half a boiled egg. On such a diet, anyone would die very quickly, and the shark calmly exists for centuries. And even cancer has no power over them. Usually, animals with age suffer from a deterioration of the body's function, and various diseases accumulate and take their share. But Greenland sharks seem to have developed genetic mechanisms that prevent such problems. Scientists have discovered genes related to DNA repair. Instead of causing damage, these genes can create useful molecules that slow down aging. The better the genome is maintained, the longer the body maintains health and resistance to diseases. A special attention was paid to the TP53 gene, the genome's keeper, which is important for cancer prevention. Greenland shark sequence differs from that of other animals, and this, most likely, also prolongs life. And then the question arises whether it is possible to use the shark's lifespan to increase the lifespan of people. Scientists, of course, are not going to turn people into long-lived reptiles like Greenland sharks living up to 400 years, but their genome gives tempting clues. In 2021, Arne himself decided to figure out the secrets of the shark's long life. First, he needed a full genome, which did not exist before. And it turned out that collecting it was not an easy task. Fishermen long and hard-caught sharks for him in the southern fjords of Greenland to bring their brains to the laboratory. In the end, scientists managed to extract DNA and make a genome to study it. Alas, the result was predictable. Sharks are too far from people for their mechanisms of longevity to work on us. But the Greenland shark genome supplemented other data on long-lived animals so that scientists could better understand the aging process. The goal is not to make people live longer, but to make them stay healthy longer. He explained himself. And by the way, if we wanted to live for 400 to 500 years, we would have to live like Greenland sharks, move little, constantly be in the cold, and eat one plate of food per month, and so on to infinity. Would you agree to this? Write in the comments. And don't forget to like. See you soon.